And
Here we are.
here we are. We are live. So first and foremost, I am your host Conrad on Wednesday Night Reviews. If you're tuning in, thank you very much. This is our first ever live stream. Very excited. Things will probably go wrong, but we'll get there in the end. And tonight, for the second time, we are joined by one Adriean Koleric. So Adrien, absolutely, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Two-time guest. Hey, I love it. That's like, that's like Tonight Show kind of,
Absolutely.
right? Don Rickles kept showing up every other week. So yeah. So I feel very honored to be a two-timer.
Thank you. You know what? One day, who knows? If this keeps going, I'll somehow get a little band going, and they can play music for me.
But yeah, sky's the limits with this show. Like, yeah, yeah, you got big things coming. I know it. I just know it.
Thank you kindly. So, first question I always like to start with for the folks out there in YouTube land who've maybe never seen your face, never heard your name, or heard of Trakovi, your book. Who is Adrien Koleric?
So, Adriean Koleric is an Edmontonian who 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, started his own comic book called Trakovi. Very first comic book. And so I came from a background. I was an artist, and I would do a bunch of different mediums: collage. I did some furniture design, some painting, some street art. I did for a couple of years. But I was expected to get into the comic realm at some point. And so now that I'm, becoming an old man, now is the perfect time to, enter that realm. So here I am.
I dig it, and I always found like when we did our original interview year and a half ago now, 2 years maybe even. One of the favorite things that I came across about you to be able to make my questions and do what I do was your art past.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot there, and perhaps now with doing comics, it hasn't grown because you've been quite busy.
Yeah.
But Adrien, can you talk about basically your history in art, some of the bigger projects you've worked on?
Yeah. Well, everything's self-taught. I didn't go to school for it, so I grew up following, like when I was a junior high, like the big punk scene in Edmonton, and there was always gig posters, and they're always drawn by hand sketch, whatever kind of stuff. So I kind of grew up with that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I always call it attainable art, right? Artwork that I know I could probably hit. And so that was always my thing, right? The whole DIY, whatever, and a little less polished and all that. And so yeah, so just taught myself how to do that. And then, as I kind of got older, I just tried different mediums. Like I said, I started off doing like contemporary furniture design, basically furniture that's like, really rigid looking and uncomfortable, but it looks really good, right? When painted red. So I did that for a couple of years. So I curated, I got together with a group of industrial designers from the University of Alberta. So we curate 2 shows a year, Frost and Thaw. And so Frost in the winter and Thaw in the whatever. So we basically, it was just these contemporary furniture shows. And so we did that for a few years. And so that grew pretty good. We had like, entries from Brazil. We had one from Croatia, that kind of thing. So we all did it here in Edmonton. Anyway, so as I was doing that, then I started getting interested in the vinyl toy scene, like designer toys. And so for anyone that doesn't know that scene, it's basically like, you have artists that make toys based off of their artwork, right? Because most of them have like a central character in their artwork. So anyway, so I somehow stumbled across that scene. And then I just completely I just turned and went back to wanting to do like artwork, right? I had zero interest anymore in doing furniture. And yeah, and then I just started just doing collage, right? So I got a bootleg copy of a Photoshop, I don't know what, 14 or something, or anyway. And so I just kind of self-taught myself how to use that. I did really bad digital collage work. So I did that for a bit, and then from there, it's like every 2 years I changed something, right? So I did collage for 2 years, and I did like splatter painting for a couple of years after watching the Pollock movie, and then I started doing paper cut collage for a couple of years, and I did street art for a couple of years. So it's just like, I couldn't. I had this like schedule, but I didn't mean to have a schedule.
Yeah. Really quick, I've got your website pulled up. Would you mind if I pop it in the stream too?
Yeah, go ahead, bud.
All right, cool. Let's see how I do this. And share. Beautiful. I love your website. It looks so good to me. So yeah, this is some of the furniture you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I love this, the mailbox. I I did want to ask, is there some sort of stopper or does it just go?
Yeah, it does stop. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's a plate there that stops about about halfway, not halfway, but just enough that you can reach in there and grab your
Yeah.
mail. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. And where is it? Because you have so many cool projects. There we go.
Yeah, this is my first gallery show. So I bought like a dozen like AT-ATs, and then I just customized them. I painted them up, right, and then I just basically I did a show centered around this. I called the show Herd, and so I had this herd of AT-ATs, you know, just kind of dolled up, and I did like some perimeter Star Wars related. It was basically a fan art show. That's really what it was.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I think
Yeah.
it's awesome. So after you got into toy making and modification, what was sort of the next big thing?
That's a good question. I'm just trying to look at my website here.
I mean, you've got a lot here. So like,
Yeah, dude,
what's the
it
stuff
like
that sticks out to you the most?
well, the digital collage was a big thing, right? So so if you go up to, oh god, I don't know, I really can't see any of my reading glasses. Yeah, so like stuff like this, right? So I came up with this like, so the big redhead dude, it was actually a piece of furniture that I made, right? I call it like, it was like a Sherman drawer, and it's like it's this big block of whatever, and then that thing in the middle is a drawer, so the drawer actually pulls out. It's just a little whatever. Anyway, so I always kind of stuck with him, and I just ended up doing like a series of collage pieces with him as a central character.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I kind of beat this guy to death. And actually, he is. I'm now using him as my central character in my book After Trakovi.
Oh, no way.
So, yeah, I'll mention that later. But yeah, so yeah, I went hard with this like quite a bit, and then it was all digital. But then I got to the point where I started like printing all this stuff off, and then
Okay.
I would I basically gel transfer onto like, you know, plywood canvases. And so you kind of got this like, and then they came out like all kind of distressed and shit like that, and splatter some paint on it, and you know, nice little keepsake.
Yeah. And I am sorry for the folks watching. I appreciate I am zooming through some of this.
Yeah.
Thinkitem.com. Go check it out. It's super cool. Let's see here. American Garage. So, because the other one that like caught my eye in it kind of links to Trakovi.
Yeah.
Is your Beatles. Yeah, these guys.
Okay, so the story with this, so I drove. Okay, so that was actually I drove that Beetle for about 10 years. It's a 72 Super Beetle. I sold it like a year ago. Anyway, so I had somebody paint on the side of the door, Taco Skateboard Company, because I thought it was funny, right? And anyway, so all the guys we kind of hung out with, you know, all these other Volkswagen guys, we just kind of joked and saying, you know, I should start, you know, I should make T-shirts, I should do stickers, I should do whatever, right? And so anyway, I just kind of ran with it, like a fake company. I just called it a fake company. And so then I started up the Instagram site, I started up a little website. So I started making all this brand gear, and I was going under Taco Skateboard Company, right? And so I did with this chef in town, Daniel Huber, we did like recipe cards, like taco recipes, and so this thing took on a whole life of its own. So like I organized like mountain trips with like vintage Volkswagens. So
yeah.
So we would have this big, you know, whatever, right? And it was weird, man. It's like when I first started this, like I actually got like hate mail from like local skateboarders because they're like, they didn't know who I was. There was no skateboards on the site, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, they thought I was just like, you know, some kind of like corporate whatever. And it's just like, I just kind of said, I'm not selling skateboards, go to the mall, right? And
Yeah.
anyway, it just got completely sidetracked, and I got into it with one of them. I'm like, do you want me to just call it? How about I just go Taco Skateco? I'll drop the skateboard, just Skateco. He goes, yeah, that's fine. So I'm like, whatever. So anyway, so yeah, I did this for a little over 2 years, and man, I just made just a bunch of merch. I did markets in town. I made little buttons, like I said, stickers. I had new ones come out every other month.
That's incredible.
I actually did refurbish some skateboards. Like I took broken skateboards. I made like some braces, kind of piece them back together. So
No
I just,
way.
yeah, it was. And then of course, then on the Instagram account, I would just post other people's Volkswagen. So it turned into like this whole like auto appreciation thing. So it just, yeah, this thing really took flight. So it was good. It was pretty fun. While last, I mean, it's still alive. Every now and then I'll kind of like, post something, but
Yeah.
not as much as I used to. I even had air fresheners,
Oh my God, that's cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, so this is where, or for me, they link for me because I saw this and I was like, hold on, that kind of looks like the guy from the cover.
Yeah.
So was this like the last bit of it you did before you started getting into making comics? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, this was the beginning of the end of the whole Taco Skateco thing. It's funny because like I love driving a Volkswagen. I love whatever the old whatever, but I always had this affinity for the Russian Lada, and I don't know what it is. I just like the whole culture on it, like being like, so I'm like Slovenian. Also grew up kind of with the whole Yugoslavian kind of culture around me.
Mhm.
And so I was always like, I just love the whole Slavic, just the vibe of it, just almost the stereotype of it too, right? The tracksuits smell like garlic, just heavy meat eaters, heavy drinkers, and and I grew up like, like we would have like, bunch of Slovenians sitting around tables singing till like 3 a.m. kind of thing. And anyway, so I started kind of getting that itch to start doing something that was a bit connected to my upbringing, right? My ethnic background.
Mhm.
And so slowly I then just started doing sketches, and it just kind of one day just decided, well, here we go, right? So.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And for the folks that have joined us since the beginning, I am your host Conrad on Wednesday Night Reviews. Joining us is Adriean Koleric, creator of Trakovi, which is, of course, this is the self-published version. It's actually picked up by Scout, and you can pre-order it now. I actually did. I wanted to make sure I got a Scout copy of it. So Adriean, we're about 13, 14 minutes in.
Yeah.
I think it's about time we actually talk about the comic.
Yes.
So tell us about Trakovi. Who is this dude? What's his deal? And yeah, what can people kind of expect?
Okay. First of all, everyone that's read it, it becomes something they didn't expect. So I'm trying to explain the book without giving spoilers, because it's going to be a 5-issue run.
Yep.
So bottom line, so Trakovi is he's basically a Slovenian thug who is doing light contract work in and around Edmonton, which is my hometown, and which is where the story is based off of. And so the series kicks off with basically an unfortunate incident where like a botched heist leads to like a school bus crash, and Trakovi makes the the dim-witted decision to basically blow up a school bus full of kids.
I don't know if I can show this.
But yeah, so
show pages.
Yeah, so that's the first 2 pages for the self-published. and anyway, so he blows up the school bus, and then basically his entire world unravels, and it affects everybody around him, right? And so he's part of a group that they're not great people, and they attend like a rehab, trying to make themselves better, and he's got support around him. And he just, like I said, just his actions affected everybody around him. And the story, God, at least I just don't want to spoil it, because issue 1 and 2. So issue 1 and 2, those are self-published ones I did, and I actually wrote that as one book. And I decided I found kind of a spot where I can split it. what happens in issue 3 completely changes the trajectory of where you think this book is going. And I always joke and say that issue 3 is my Empire, right? It's my Empire Strikes Back, right? It's just completely it went somewhere I did not expect to go. Because when I had my scout editor, Andrea Molinari, who's actually on here in the comment section. Yeah, Andrea. Anyway, so I remember we went through the first 2 issues, and he's like, "Well, where are we going now?" Right? Because he knew we're going like 5 issues, and anyway, so I kind of gave him my spiel. He's like, "No, we could let's try this, right?" And he pointed out a little nugget, a little Chekhov's gun in issue 1, and it just completely blew my mind on the spot. And it's like, man, the script for issue 3 was like done in like 2 nights. It was just, it just like completely, like, and then like 4 and 5 was just a complete blur, you know? So what he gave me was just like this little tiny little atom that just exploded. And here we are. Like like I just like, I just love where it went. I loved how it ended. I had like no regrets. I'm really happy. I'm at peace with how this book played out.
Beautiful. I love it. I'm actually going to pull up the previews page for it. One thing I want to ask, because like you said, I don't want to give away spoilers, because the first, as people may have noticed, I'm holding the first 2.
Yeah, the self-published. Yeah,
the self-published ones, which Scout later went on. They did a little editing. And the edits to the first one, by the way, the rework on it, the additional stuff that was put in there, bang on. It makes it just a pinch more fluid, so it reads a little better, I think.
Fantastic. Yeah, and so that obviously that came down to Andrea with like brilliant editor, and he's got a book called The Shepherd through Scout that I cannot recommend any higher. It's just like the series it's a heartbreaker. It's just an absolute heartbreaker. The writing's fantastic. It's just a quality book, and I want more people to like read this book. So, but anyway, it's funny when the self-published came out about a year and a half ago. So I passed it around for reviews, right, including yourself, and so one review site, Comical Opinions, Gabe's the guy who did the review, and if you ever go on Comical Opinions, like, he's pretty frank. Like, he likes what he likes, and he'll review what he doesn't like, which I thought was interesting, right? So it's like very fair. So he reviewed Trakovi 1, gave it 7 out of 10, right? Which I was fine with, right? Because it's my first book. Why not, right? And then I was reading it up, and he had a couple of notes in there that the continuity kind of screwed him up. So I don't know if you recall. So there's a character called Toykov who was at the scene of the bus crash.
Yep.
And then after the bus crash, Trakovi gets a sandwich, and then shows up at the rehab, and the Toykov is there. So it's kind of like this, like, yeah. So he was there, and it was like he was gone for a certain amount of time. He just kind of magically showed up. Yeah. So, and he pointed that out. And then he had kind of noted how that distracted him as he kept reading it. And I thought of it too. I'm like, you know what? He's right. He's absolutely right. And so what I did was and that's the beauty about being with Scout. I was able to go back and fix things, right? And that was the biggest thing. So what I did was then I gave Toykov more time. I gave him more pages and I basically gave him a continuity. And then I added 2 bonus pages of story for the self-published, right? To kind of give more explanation to like how certain people got from point A to point B and all that, like a bridge kind of whatever.
Yeah, and then, consistency.
Yeah, and then we cleaned up some dialogue, and then I jumped back to issue 1 so many times just because as I went further, I found my artwork kind of got a little bit tighter in some whatever, right?
Practice, yeah.
Right. So I was jumping back and forth. And it got to the point where my wife's like, stop. It's good. It's good. Finish this before you die, right? Kind of thing, right? That was a joke. It's like, I need to finish these 5 issues before I die, right? So it's done. So I mean, technically I could die, but it's like, I don't know. I kind of wait till the release date now. So anyway, yeah. So because of like Gabe at Comical Opinions, like seriously, he really helped me like kind of like think about things a little bit differently, and he really like was one of the big reasons that I cleaned up issue 1 as much as I did. So
go Gabe at Comic Book Opinions, folks. go follow it.
A great review. Honestly, I like his reviews. It's just he just doesn't piss around, right? It's just so.
I dig it. No, that actually reminds me a lot of, and I don't know the person's name, but there's like a music producer or something like that. He's some like older white dude, really crazy long gray beard, balding on top.
Oh, Rick
But like,
Rubin?
yeah, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of when you talked about him like that, that's what that reminded me of. I'm like, he likes what he likes, he knows what he's like, and he's indiscriminate. It's just, this is good, this is bad, here's why.
And you know what? As like, and that's what I'm learning. As a as a creator now, you need that. You need to have somebody to be able to tell you, no. You got to hear no every now and then. So it's like when I was first writing issue 1 before the self-published. So I had all laid out, and so I met with a friend of mine, Dallas, who he did a 5 or 4 issue series called the V Card with is it Antarctica Press? I got to find out. Anyway, so it was a great book. I loved the book, and he was like one of my kind of like inspirations, kind of get going. And so anyway, so we he sat down with me, and I laid out like the first half of the book, and he was just like, no. He goes, so it's funny because like the first 5 pages was basically just Trakovi driving through the highway, right? Just driving through the highway.
Oh.
He was eventually going to lead up to the bus, and it was going to be whatever. He's like, I'm not going to read 4 or 5 pages of a guy driving, right? And so he completely, just like we took out a lot, and we narrowed it down, and we cleaned it up, made it a little bit tighter. And anyway, yeah. So he was brutally honest. And I'm using him for my next book. I'm going to meet with him soon and then run through it with him. And yeah, I just, like I said, he just he doesn't sugarcoat it, right? He's not like that fake. Oh, this is fantastic, right? Just no. What do you think?
I like that. So for that comic, I wasn't able to find the website for it, but I found an eBay listing. So I'm gonna pop that into the stream real quick.
Oh, for the V card, really?
Yeah, for the V card. So you can get your own.
Oh my god, that's awesome!
$3.99 US. But that's what it looks like. Again, creator Dallas
Casavant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nick Johnson and Sean Reinhart. It looks hilarious. It's something.
It's so good, dude. The writing's so good. Like, yeah, because I came across Dallas when I was doing an expo here in Edmonton.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then through another artist, he introduced me to him. He's like, you know what? You should probably get to know him. You're starting a comic. He's done a comic, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then he was basically just walking around with a stack of these comics. He was passing around to people. And so anyway, I was having just a shit time at this expo. I wasn't selling anything. And then so I sat down and I was able to read all the issues. And I was just like, fantastic,
Sweet. Well, yeah. It looks funny. It's definitely something I would read. So folks out there, go find a copy, digital, physical, whatever makes you happy. And I do want to flip back over to yours. So this is the listing for Trakovi from Previews. It comes out July 26th. So you've got what?
Final cutoff is June 19th.
18 days from today.
18 days.
So go in, talk to your local comic shop, have them order this for you. If you don't have a comic shop, it looks like you could just order a copy right off Previews and have it shipped probably to your house.
Yeah, there are ways. There are ways. You can also go directly through Scout as well. Right. So actually you can actually do pre-order now through Scout directly from them. And what's cool too, if you go through Scout, so they have their web exclusive covers for issue 1. There's 2 of them. And those are the only 2 places you can get it. It's just through Scout. Yeah.
Bear with me. I'm bringing it up. One thing I did want to ask about. Oh, this is cool. Shut this tab. So here is Scout's website, scoutcomics.com. Here is the cover.
Yeah, the main cover A by Dave Thomas, and then basically the next 2 are the web exclusive. I like that one a lot. Yeah, so that one there, that's the one. So I did that, but I just like took some of Dave's artwork from the self-published and just kind of made like a gig poster cover. And then the one above it's from Dylan Corbisser. And
Oh,
so
no way!
yeah, so Dylan, Metalhead
Dylan's,
Samurai, right?
yeah, Dylan's
Yeah,
good people.
yeah. And then on the bottom, so that's a retailer incentive. So that's from Marco Fonatali. So Marco did King Jira through Scout. It was a one shot.
Yeah.
And so he's been like, Marco's kind of been sort of jumping on a bunch of titles here and there and doing covers. And I know he's got a new Western book coming out through Scout that I saw the press release today. I can't remember it now, but Marco's just a massive, massive talent. And I was actually really surprised that he agreed to do it. I'm surprised all these guys agreed to do a cover, right? So,
well, you know what? From the previous interview I did with Dylan, your book's right up his style. Like, that's exactly what he want to do.
yeah.
So I'm glad you were able to have him hop on and join it and do a cover for you.
I love Dylan's work. I love, he's an Edmontonian, right? Whereas like Dave Thomas from Edmonton, right? So we kind of kept it, in house here. And so actually, funny enough, so Dylan and I are actually so we are going to be doing a book together. So we're basically, so there's the Canadian punk band SNFU. For originally from Edmonton, went to Vancouver, and anyway, so now they're no longer. So we were going to take like songs of theirs and write stories on their songs, like a four short story book, right? And so I'm one of the co-writers, another guy in town, Christian Basaraba, who actually runs Rad Dads. Anyway, so
cool.
he's a big SNFU guy. Like he's basically an SNFU historian. And so anyway, so he's going to be writing some of this with us. So, but this is kind of one of those things where it's like we kind of talk every couple of months, right? Because we all like Dylan has stuff going on, I got stuff going on, right? So but it will happen. I know it will happen. So, but
that's
yeah,
sick.
yeah. I just like so I just like working with Dylan. He's so good. Like he did another variant cover for Scout for issue 3. So
of Trakovi?
Yeah. So basically
nice.
Took it's an Anthrax homage. Yeah. Terribly
Yeah,
well.
that guy has got heavy metal, or I'll just say metal because all the branching differences in what they call it, but that man's got metal in his blood.
He's a purist. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh
yeah. And it shows in his work, and I love Metalhead Samurai, and I will talk about Metalhead Samurai if anyone listens. And I just like, it's one of those books I just really wish, I want to get picked up. He did a Kickstarter. Kickstarter got funded, so he did a reboot of that. But I don't know. I keep bugging him, like just keep submitting. Yes. Someone eventually is going to say, yeah, I'm up for it.
Someone will bite, because the passion that he has for his books, the crazy over the top hijinks, the Mad Max style stuff that he puts in them. Great stuff.
Is his line work is absolutely amazing. Like, oh my god, I just like I trying to convince him to do a black and white. Like it's just.
I could see that going real good.
Yeah, I think he could do really well in that. So, but who am I?
Right, he's got to come do it on his own. And that being said, we're here to talk about your book, not So let's get back to Trakovi.
Yeah.
I want to talk about my favorite scene from the first one in just a second. But I wanted to ask, so obviously this self-published cover that I have, while definitely iconic, is certainly different than the one that's online. And again, I'll have that pop up real quick, just so people can see it. Now, Dave came back to do the Scout Comics version, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So the one you're holding, the self-published, when Dave did it, that's actually like a physical oil painting that he had done.
Yeah.
And so issue 1 and 2 were oil paintings, right? And I have those, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so anyway, so before Scout came along, I was already working on issue 3. I was having work on the cover already, right? And so he did a mock-up in Photoshop. And he sent me the mock-up. I just like, oh man, I think you're done, right? I kept in my back of my mind, I'm like, this is so good. I don't want to I don't know what to tell him, right? Because Dave's a painter, and Dave doesn't, he's not really one to push his digital work. That's more of his kind of like doing concepts to eventually do his actual painting. So anyway, so I just thought I thought, okay, we'll just leave it, let him do his thing. So Dave started the actual painting of the issue 3 cover. So he sends me that. He sends me his work in progress. So I'm just like, oh, I gotta tell him. So I just like, so we kind of had, he brought it up actually. He kind of noticed that the issue 3 digital had a nicer pop than the whatever. And so we just kind of made that decision on the spot there that he's going to do all digital for the Scout run. And so when you're looking up now, the Scout issue 1, so that's a digital, it's his digital, right? So then that's what he did for the 5 issues. He did finish the painting for issue 3. So I have that as well. So that's a little keepsake for me. But his digital work was so good. And then, and so what happened was, so I found like a reference photo for issue 1 for him to work off of, right? And so he did that. Issue 2, I got a reference photo. But it's funny with issue 2, the original painting was so identical to the reference photo. I was kind of getting worried that I might get shit for it. So we flipped it, and then I basically went on top of it, and I kind of did a bunch of like graffiti and scribble and all that. So issue 2 cover is a little more chaotic in the Scout lineup, and that's why. And then issue 3, 4, 5, we're actually both credited because I gave him the sketch for the last 3 issues.
Oh, interesting.
And so he took the sketches for the last 3, and then he did what he does.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And once again, for the folks tuning in, I appreciate some people have popped in and hopped out. Totally cool. I'm Conrad, your host of Wednesday Night Reviews. We're sitting down with Adriean Koleric talking about Trakovi, which you can pre-order now. You've got 18 days left on previews, or go to scoutcomics.com directly, and you can get some exclusive covers. So my favorite scene that happens early on in Trakovi #1 that let me know that, well, I don't think in real life I'd like Trakovi. On the page, I love reading him. Is a scene that happens in a deli, and it's, unless I'm very mistaken, it's basically identical in the Scout version as well as the original. And it's basically where Trakovi walks into a deli. He's having a smoke, and he orders himself a sandwich, and an old lady comes up beside him, and she basically is like trying to order her sandwich. She's like, "You can't smoke in here." The store owner's like, "Yeah, man, you can't really do that." And he's like, "Oh," and he puts it out on her hair, and he swears at them and storms off. I think it's the most zany, like, screw you thing I've seen written in a while, but it spoke to who he was to me, and it let me know what's going on with him. So can you talk about that scene?
Yeah, man, it's like, so it's funny because like I don't know what it was, man. I just didn't want a character that had any redeeming qualities, right? I didn't want.
Good job.
I didn't want a hero. I didn't want, and it's funny. It's like that was one of the stories I heard that there was a bit of pushback, with some of the people at Scout accepting it because. One of the comments was, "How do you redeem a guy that just blew up a busload of kids? Where do you go from there, right?" And I remember thinking to myself, "Who gives a shit, right?"
Yes.
But, God, I had honestly, I had a few really. I had some other scenes with him and another old lady. Him and Singh were walking. This is after rehab. They're kind of walking.
Singh right here.
Yeah, so they're kind of taking a walk, right? This is kind of the whole when they come across Jim, and they were in a narrow sidewalk, and the old lady with like a walker was going to meet them.
Oh God, yeah.
I had this whole close up of him smiling and her looking up with just Puss in Boots eyes, right? And then close up of his hand on her walker, and then the walker like going up in a tree kind of thing, and then him kind of walking away. It was just a really awful. I don't know. I just kind of like the awfulness of him. I just don't care anymore. The kind of guy that'll go on Twitter and just say whatever he wants and not really care what anyone says,
Oh yeah.
It was almost kind of like, it was just, I don't know. It was like this little nugget of freedom in a weird way. It's like, it's like my wife and I always laugh. Like we always kind of mention this, like, do you ever find like sometimes when you're talking to somebody in public, they're holding a coffee and in your mind, I'm like, what happened if I just slapped that coffee out of his hand? You know what I mean? You just sometimes you kind of like get like
Yep.
these little thoughts in your head. It's like, God, I just want to knock your hat off, right? You know, or just something, right? And you just kind of wonder what the, you know, I don't know, just like those, you know, you just have these like evil thoughts in your head. I mean, it's more playful and you know whatever, but it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. So I think I kind of might use this as, you know, maybe an
Get
outlet for
that
that.
out.
Yeah, I guess, right. And that's, you know, that's one thing too I learned with comics, you know, starting one of your own is like really you can do whatever you want. You know, it's just it's a playground. You know, I remember when I was coloring it, in that scene in the background, there's like there's a deer head on the wall. And I was so preoccupied with like coloring it like a deer head, you know, the browns, the beige, and all that, whatever. And so I was talking with Dallas from V Card, and I said, God, you know, man, I wish I could just paint it pink. He's like, well, paint it pink. Who gives a shit, right? And so that little note kind of sort of like, you know, made me think, okay, I just, what am I doing here? I'm not a realist painter. I can't do that hyper whatever. I don't care for that stuff, right? Because I can't do it. I'm just jealous, pure jealousy, right? That's why I smack
Fair.
talk it all the time, right?
Very fair.
But yeah, anyway, yeah. So just kind of open things up, right? So then I just got a little more freer. I just, you know, even with the storytelling, you know, I got a little more confident, you know, with you know dialogue and layouts and stuff like that. So yeah, it was yeah, man. Issue 1 and 2 was basically just kind of watching someone kind of figure out how to get to a certain point, you know.
Interesting. Like it's one thing, like you mentioned, like writing and you getting more confident. One of the things that I notice a lot of books don't either do well or they're not intending to do well or they don't care is just like banter. And I don't mean like, you know, Batman and Robin banter. I mean like actual very human, stupid, short, you know, 3 sentences like, hey dude, what the fuck? That kind of stuff. And you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that so well. Um one of the scenes, and again, I don't want to do spoilers, but one of the scenes where Trakovi, Singh, and a whole bunch of other people are basically, you sort of mentioned earlier, they're at rehab,
Mhm,
um, and the leader of the group gets up there and he's doing his thing.
mhm,
Just the banter and the like, screw this guy stuff that they say between each other,
mhm.
like it makes the comic and it made Trakovi feel so very real and like you could go to where these people are and you
Yeah.
could see them there and talk to them and probably get beat up by them, but you know it's Trakovi.
Yeah, well, you know, the one thing I wanted to make sure is I didn't want to put out a book. It's funny, here I am, like my first comic, I'm sounding like I know what I'm doing, right? But one of the things I wanted to avoid was one note characters. You know, like there's sometimes when you read a book and there's like, you know, 5 characters, I'm like, they're all the same to me. I don't know their names. They're all just, you know, whatever. And so once I kind of establish their look
Yeah.
and which by the way, I take like I do maybe 2 takes and then I'm like, okay, that's a good look, done. I don't do this whole, you know what I mean? The old school Marvel where it's got this view, that view, the
Yeah,
behind the
yeah.
view, the different like pose and all. No, it's just like, yeah, okay, good, run. You know, it was
Love it.
just so it was like that. Anyway, so I had each character was basically based off somebody that I knew, somebody that I watched, somebody that I read. There's a connection.
Yeah.
Every character has somebody, and so when you have different personalities, then the voices just kind of naturally flow, and then you kind of
Oh,
think, well,
yeah.
I know how this person talks. I know how this person would react, and then you know this person's subtle and all that. So you just kind of like when you have a variety of characters to play with, and you know their voices, it just makes the dialogue easier to write, you know, because I'm
Mhm.
like, I know he's going to say this at this certain point. Um, yeah, it's I know it sounds so cliche, but it's like they wrote themselves, you know, it got to
Yeah.
that point where it's like they just kind of just did their thing. And I just had to make sure the spelling was correct. So,
Love it.
yeah.
One thing I want to ask, because it came up in a recent interview that I did, which is not out yet, but will be soon. So keep in mind for the channel, hit subscribe, all that
Who
good
was
stuff.
it? Who did you interview?
I'm trying to remember exactly. So I interviewed Nick Marinkovic, and I believe he's who said this. So Nick Marinkovic, artist on Dead Romans.
Oh, okay.
And I interviewed also Marco Rudy recently, who's been done a lot, frankly, for a lot of companies. But basically, I believe it was Nick. He was like, I didn't make a character Bible.
Hmm.
And Or no, my apologies. Oh my god, that's not who said it. My last interview I did yesterday was with Ray Garza of lesser known comics,
Mhm.
who made Take McGregor,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like this huge sci-fi story. It's wild, it's funny. I actually think you'd probably get a kick out of it.
yeah.
Um,
No,
and he's
actually,
like,
I know exactly which way you talk about. Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah, yeah,
perfect."
yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, so I have all these characters, but like I never made a character Bible."
Yeah.
So he's like, so I had to go back after writing a whole graphic novel and do that.
Hmm.
So what I want to ask you then, Adrian, given your style and how sort of loose and off the cuff you're playing this,
Hmm.
to the maybe great dislike of your editors, have you created a character Bible?
No, absolutely not. I got no interest in doing that. Why?
Love it.
I got no time for that. Honestly, I honestly, it's like it's all about the story. I don't need to do. It's like I'm gonna probably disappoint people with fan art because I don't know if I'm gonna do any fan art or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's like I'm more interested about getting them on the page and just getting them on their way, kind of thing. I know, and
Right.
it's I know. I feel. I know I should be doing that because I remember growing up. You always saw like the like
Yeah, there was
The
always
Marvel
like
universe. Yeah, right. So I mean, it just that was the thing to do, right? But I just have no interest in doing that at all. Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
Well, I believe we have one of your editors watching, or
Mhm.
at least they've commented a few times. So maybe convince them to do it. I don't know. Best of luck to you.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know if that's really in demand. To be honest, I don't.
oh, really? Okay,
I don't know.
cool.
I don't know. I don't care. That's me. That's just me. But I don't know. I'm sure there are people that I don't. Maybe now I want to do one. I don't know. I'm gonna think about it now.
Uh, so one thing you sort of alluded to it earlier is Trakovi's kind of, excuse my language, a dick. He's not a good person. He's
No.
literally a thug for hire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we, like you said, we opened the comic with him blowing up a bus full of kids.
Mhm.
How do you redeem that?
Yeah.
Um, so this isn't a slice of life story. He actually has a story that goes on for him, and he has
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the main antagonist for Trakovi, if they're an antagonist to this guy?
So yeah, so the main antagonist, which will be introduced in issue 3, her name is Ula. God, you know what?
Again, can't give away too
Yeah.
many spoilers, but
God, you know what? It's funny. Like I really can't. I really can't say much about Ula. Is apart from I love her. Um,
it,
she. Oh God, she does awful things. She does very awful things. Um, but I find she does awful things, but she has a reason for doing awful things. Um, and it. God, you know what? Honestly, dude, it's like there's
let me
like,
ask you this:
yeah.
would you say that she is a good guy? Because he's certainly like a bad guy, technically speaking.
Everybody, you know what? Listen, so Joe from Pink Buzz kind of made a comment that's really stuck with me. He's like,
Okay.
Trakovi's basically a story about loss and how different people deal with that loss. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you went through all 5 issues or not yet, but
Not
but
yet.
you'll see that there's something that happened prior to years ago. You'll see in a flashback what happened that basically brought all these people into the same trajectory, and so they all experience this particular loss, and they're all dealing with this loss in a certain way. So it's
Oh.
it's like dealing with loss. There's revenge. It's really it's a tragic. It's a family tragedy. That's really what it is. And you don't know, you won't get that with the first 2 issues. The first 2 issues is kind of sort of
Zany, weird.
it's my Fast and Furious of the series. Just kind of right, kind of gets through. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, 3 is when it just becomes like the hammer's put down. It just becomes this. It starts grinding out now. That's when the ground and pound kind of starts in this fight, and so really it's like, and I've had people too that they don't know who to cheer for. There's no, you know what I mean? Like they're not sure who, I mean, people have their favorites. You know, they like Sing seems to be one that everyone loves,
Yeah,
right?
he's super cool.
Yeah, my wife loves him too, right? So I was kind of like, you know, telling her like, I'm just gonna kill him off. I think issue 4, I'm gonna kill him off, right? And
Don't
she,
you dare!
yeah, I got the same response too, right? So anyway, so yeah, oh God, you know, it's like, yeah, anything from 3 on, it's a heavy spoiler because
Fair.
I like to have one thing I'm kind of like learning with myself in the writings. I like having surprises. I like ending off my issues with a cliffhanger surprise. You know what I mean? Like it's probably me growing up watching soap operas, right? I watched soap operas with my grandfather, right? General Hospital kind of thing, right?
Hell
And at the
yeah.
end of each show is always like something, right? You know, somebody looking at the camera, that. And I always just like that, you know what I mean? And you know, I want someone to kind of like finish off the last page and go, Jesus, what next? I want what's next kind of thing, right? And I think I've accomplished that with I think with all of them, even issue 5, which is like the ending. I think I've kind of maybe I feel there's a story after that, but
literally my brain was like, I gotta ask the question. I know what I'm asking next, and you've answered it for me. So there is more of Trakovi after the 5th issue. It's
okay.
maybe not written, but the's something cooking.
Yes, actually, no, there is a script. So originally, yeah, originally when I had did a when I was working on the book with Andrea and Scout, I had this idea of doing a bonus story at the end of each issue, right? So Philadelphia did that, right? So they actually had like whatever, right? Anyway, so I came up with a script. So there's a character, Grad 83, right? And Grad 83 is you know, he's like the he's a guy I went to high school and junior high with in the 80s kind of thing, right? You know, like the mullet, the whatever, the guy who jumps bonfires, right? You know, anyway, so he's a reporter in the series, right? And he basically talks not like a reporter, he talks like a metalhead, right, in a parking lot. So the side story was basically it's going to be Grad 83 was given the assignment to investigate the school bus crash to find out, you know, more about it, right? And basically it would take Grad to you know, to the rehab scene. He would kind of go there after the rehab scene finishes. Yeah, that's Grad. That's his first drawing too, Grad. So he kind of changes a bit as the story goes. He gets a little more proportion and all that. But anyway, so Grad goes to the rehab, right? And basically it kind of takes place after issue 1 rehab scene. And so Grad meets up with like the B characters. Like there was Anton Animavich, Marco the Patch, and Rhinovich, right? The guy who's dressed like the Rhino with a big mustache. And so he meets them outside and he kind of sort of like talks to them, asks questions and all that. And because Anton Animavich, he's a guy with like, he always looks like you.
He does.
Oh my God.
Hi.
Of note though, I based him off of Action Bronson.
Nice. I'll take that.
Yeah. Anyway, so you know, he asked him about this bus crash, right? If he knows what happened, and then Anton Animavich, he has a line there like, a bus crash, would it slip on a banana kind of thing, and it was some line like that. So he's like, I know a guy named Ronnie. The only way to get to Ronnie is he holds an illegal front yard karate tournament in the neighborhood of Delwood, which is an actual neighborhood in Edmonton, which I grew up in. You go through the karate tournament, you get to Ronnie. And so basically they go to this karate tournament, Grad enters this karate tournament. Ronnie shows up, and Ronnie's basically like, he's basically Ryan James Dio, right? That's exactly how he's supposed to look, right? Anyway, so I had the script laid out. Andrea went through it, marked it up. And then I just kind of thought, I'm going to confuse people, right? If I have this extra story at the end, right?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, sometimes it's like, so I just wanted a clean break, you know, the cliffhanger, that's it. And so I just kind of put off to the side. And then anyway, so once issue 5 was kind of winding down, I just kind of thought, well, maybe I could do a one shot, or maybe I can do something with it. So I contacted Brendan Deneen, who's like the CEO of Scout, and the guy who signed me. And I just kind of said, hey, I have this. Andrea looked it over. I don't know. do what you want with it. So anyway, so now it's kind of like it's out there. They're discussing it at some point, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I guess it depends to how. I guess maybe how well it'll be received as well, right? I mean, so far so good. I mean, everyone's read it, liked it. So I don't know. I mean,
that's
but
good.
we'll see how sales. I don't know. I don't know how these things go, but anyway, it's out there.
Well, based on Adria's comment, it's looking good, so I like that.
Screen grab that.
Oh, absolutely! It's in there. It's popped up a few times when we've been talking. Then you know what? We've got like 9.5 minutes left before the hour's up, and I don't want to keep you long or keep the folks long. So once again, I'm your host Conrad on Wednesday Night Reviews. We're joined by Adriean Koleric. We've been talking about Trakovi. This is the self-printed version. You can go order now. Trakovi #1 from Scout Comics. Either just go to scoutcomics.com, check out the exclusive covers, all the good stuff, or you could go to previews or your local comic shop. Please support local shops, and they can order it. You've got 18 days left, and it comes out July 26th. I guess with the last little bit, Adrien, I like to ask some personal stuff so people can get to know you.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start with, why not? What have you been reading lately? I appreciate you're probably super busy, but when it comes to what you've been reading, audiobook, real book, prose, comics, whatever, what's scratching your brain? What's made you feel good?
You know what? The last thing I read, I just finished last week, was The Boys of Biloxi it's a John Grisham novel. So you know what? It's funny. And then I also read before that. I just finished off. Quentin Tarantino did a novel companion to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, cool!
Which is fantastic because it basically adds like a whole whack of scenes, a whole bunch of background in that. So read that. Oh my god, I have a whole stack. Damn it! Oh man, in terms of comics, I got a whole stack. Ah, shit. Nemesis. I'm reading Nemesis right now.
Oh, by Millar.
Holy shit, man! Yeah, I just finished issue 1. I'm like, yeah. So I'm kind of excited. I got to issues 2 to 5. I got to sit down and whatever. So I'm very excited about that. So that was pretty good.
I dig it.
Damn it! What else? What else have I read? Shit.
You know what? Let's keep it a little topical. And I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, of course, but given you've signed up with Scout now, they're publishing your work, which is amazing. Yeah. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
What other Scout book have you had the chance to read some of their catalog, and maybe what book of there would you recommend?
Okay, so obviously King Jira, I loved. God damn you!
There's a one shot. King Jira. Oh, okay.
There's a one shot that was a horror.
Oh,
it was a horror book. Oh my god! And this thing like absolutely just floored me, and I can't remember it now.
You don't remember the title. You remember it though. That's awesome.
I can't remember the title, and it came out like a few months ago. It was a one shot. And the cover, it's a red cover, and it's like a hand painted a girl, and there's like a snake kind of around her. Oh my god. Oh, it's somewhere in my boxes behind me, but it's like, God damn it. I don't know. And of course, Molotov, right? Andrea might know it. So Andrea, so it's it's a one shot. Something juicy. Something juicy. Thank you.
Juicy?
Thank you. My lord. This was like mastercraft for a one shot. I was like, I remember at the end, I'm like, Jesus. Yeah.
I already don't like
there
this.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I strongly recommend reading this. Like I said, I just like one shots are great. There you go, John Clark. Because I remember actually I sent a message to John Clark on Instagram. I'm like, dude, you wrote one of the best books I've read the last year. I was like so excited for him. And he's like, thanks. And Wow. Yeah, so that's like the Black Caravan label of Scouts.
Good to know that so it's like an imprint.
Yeah. So they got like more like I guess like more like some of the horror genres in it. Like I think Marco's got something through there as well.
Ooh.
But yeah, dude, I just like, yeah, there's something about one shots, right? That just kind of, just kind of, I don't know, there's something really enticing about it. Something challenging about that too, right? You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
like, to have a story, a satisfying story, just in, in whatever, 30 pages or 40 pages, you can knock it out. But yeah, that, it's funny though. One thing with like, getting onto Scout is like, yeah, I kind of made an effort when I first signed on, like 2 years now, just to check out the other books and all that. And I'm so awful with remembering titles. I'm terrible with remembering titles. Anyway, but it's just like, it just kind of struck me just like how varied they are, but how they're all really good. And yeah, there's a few I want to read up. There's one called The Recount. Jonathan Hendrick, is that his name? I think it's Jonathan Hendrick. Oh, and then the one with Sean Van Gorman, Ghost Planet. Ghost Planet was a one shot as well. That was pretty good.
Well, here's The Recount.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's a trade. Someone can get sick.
I haven't read it. I've heard good things. I've seen like it pop up in reviews. So it's got yeah. So I think it's hopefully it's good. And anyway, so but it's funny. The one book on Scout. Oh, actually, okay. Now it's opening up here. So, okay, so it eats what feeds it.
Oh, that was so good.
3 issues that should have been like 20 issues. I was like this book. I think I bought every variant for this book, and my God, Max Hoven and Aaron Crow, and the book was just. And it was funny. This was like. I started reading this right after I kind of got into Something is Killing the Children. And I read this. I'm like, this could be Scout's Something is Killing the Children, And yeah, man, I really wish it went past 3 issues. That's one I just thought just had legs and it really could have, expanded. And
I'm surprised it didn't. Like I have the trade. And I went through it and I'm like, sick, where's more of it? And I never really looked at it, like into it, because I was just doing what I do.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it came down to like time and money kind of thing, or I'm not sure. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of my, favorites of my early kind of introduction to Scout. But the one that it's funny. So when I was doing the self-published, and the Kickstarter ended in October. I had no, and people ask me, it's like, well, you're going to submit to a publisher. And I had zero interest in submitting to a publisher. In my mind, it's like, I'm just going to just keep doing the Kickstarter. I don't know if you know Copra with Michel Fife.
I've heard of,
yeah. So he's like a staunch like indie guy. He had a little bit on Image for a few issues, but then he just kind of went back on his own. So I thought if he could do it, I could do it. Right? It was, I like that whole DIY kind of punk vibe.
Just put it out.
And then I saw Molotov.
I'll bring that
through
up.
Scout, and Molotov just completely knocked me on my ass for a couple of reasons. One, because it's like so Tom Lantern. He did everything on it, right? So he wrote it, he drew it, he colored it, he lettered. This is all him, and then the artwork as well. And so I just kind of, I don't know why, it's just all of a sudden I kind of connected to this book, and everything about it just kind of felt right. And then I just kind of thought, well, and it's funny. I was actually on a show with Tom last week on House of Nerd, which is kind of weird. It's kind of surreal because like I've been like fanboying over him for like the last couple of years. And so anyway, and I just kind of and it was no, I told him it's no disrespect to you, but it's like your artwork just feels accessible to me. And the fact that Scout, believed in this book, I thought to myself, it's like, well, then I have a shot. Maybe I do have a shot to get this book, whatever. Cause like in my mind, it's like, I can see this. Right. And it's fun. And then then I submitted. Right. And then anyway, here we are. But it's funny. What's funny though, in the Scout version of issue 1, there's actually a Molotov Easter egg. So,
cool.
So Fred, the lead character, is like kind of like tucked away in a corner. So he's in there. And so Tom is like, yeah, cool. So actually there was like 4 or 5 Scout creators that I approached and asked them if I could put some of their stuff in the book as Easter eggs. So they're in there. Like Fellhound is in there with Commander Rao.
No way.
Marco Fonatali is in there with King Jira and a couple other guys, which of course I just cannot remember the goddamn name. So because in my head, I don't know why it's like I was like kind of I want to one day do like a crossover with another Scout creator. Like I want to, like, so I kind of sort of like kind of alluded to Tom last week. I'm like, Molotov Trakovi kind of thing, right? So I don't know, I think I should just ask him straight out, but
just do it.
I'll just say, hey,
I want to do this. This sounds cool to me. What do you think?
You never know, right? You never know. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It'd be kind of fun, right? But Impossible Jones. That's the other one I'm thinking about.
Oh,
Impossible Jones.
Impossible
Jones. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
I am so sorry if this is just extremely loud typing. One Impossible Jones.
Yeah, there you go.
That looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
I dig it. Yes, so we have hit our hour. My last quick and easy question, Adrian, is simply, who do you think I should interview next?
God damn it. Who do I want to? Because I know you interviewed Chris from Tights.
Yep.
What about Pat from Pop Scars?
No, I have not.
Pat from Pop Scars, because issue 3 came out yesterday with Sumerian. Richard from Blam and Glam.
Okay.
Richard Morgan. And so he's on issue 7 right now, and he's been all through Kickstarter releasing with that. And Richard's like it's crazy good. His artwork it's basically it's like digital painting. So he'd be a good one. Bastard. Yeah.
Asking all the fun and hard questions, eh?
God, I need like pre-interview questions, but
right.
I'm gonna of course when we hang up I'm gonna be like, ugh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, actually no, even Aaron Crow or Max Hoven from it feeds what it eats what feeds it. Because they have a book, Liquid Kill, which is I think they're on issue 3 or 4 through Whatnot Publishing. So it'd be pretty cool. Or you know what, Andrea, Jesus, like I mean like honestly, get a couple copies of The Shepherd, read it, cry, okay, and then have him on. I mean,
I can.
There
do
you
that.
go. Seriously, honestly, please read The Shepherd. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what you think about it, because I just I find it's a book that more people need to read.
Okay, I can make that happen. The Shepherd. Awesome. Well, Adrian, absolutely, just like last time, you have been a blast.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much for taking the time to come on.
Thanks for having me. I mean, you were I think you're the first interview I had, or the first one. You were one of the first reviews, so self-published. So,
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
you were So yeah, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Anytime. I mean, hey, keep making good comics, and
I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Doing my best.
Absolutely. Well, and folks watching, again, thank you so much for tuning in for the first ever live stream interview that I've done. Be sure to go check out everything that Adrien is doing. Right on the screen, you'll see his social media tag. Go to scoutcomics.com, order all his books, or go to your local comic shop and they can order in the next 18 days, 17 tomorrow. I appreciate your shop probably closed by now.
Merch will be showing up on the Scout site any day now, kind of thing. So shirts, stickers, and all that. I sent them a bunch of cat. Yeah. They does show up. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I sent them a bunch of graphics to be put on merch and that. So some of them actually I brought back from the Kickstarter. So I know some people that wanted the Boris the Mint shirt again and all that. And so I'm just waiting. I'm waiting. So, but it'll be up there soon.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So folks, check out scoutcomics.com. Keep your eyes open for Trakovi merch. Again, your copy won't look exactly like this, but get this book. It's so good. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And we'll see you next time. Adios.
Thank you.